Hi friends, thank you all so much for coming back to craft with me today, and welcome if you are new here. My name is Alyssa. Many of you had requested that I make a tutorial on how I created this Christmas themed journal, and I honestly didn't think I would have the time to do it because this journal took me a while, but I'm going to make some time to show you guys at least in a couple different parts how I made this journal, or a similar one at least. So this one here, I will link the flip through video down below in case you missed it. But I made this one out of a Wheat Thins family size box. So for today's journal, thankfully I had another family sized cracker box. This is a Triscuit box, but it's almost the same exact size. I think it's a little less wide, but we're gonna just use any size box that you have, and this is going to be the base of our journal. So my box here is it's a little more than 6.5 inches wide by 9.25 inches tall. And then this here is going to be the spine, of course. So my spine is going to be about 2.5 inches wide this way. So just to give you the dimensions of my box, but of course just use whatever you have in your kitchen. So we're just going to be cutting this apart. So I'm going to open up the bottom here, and then I'm just going to cut off this whole entire piece over on this side. That is really jacked up, but that's okay because we're covering it anyway. And I'm going to just cut along here as well. It's also harder to do on camera, especially with such a big box like this. But next, I'm just going to cut off these extra little flaps here and the ones at the bottom too. Okay, so this is what we are going to be left with, is just the base of our journal. And that's all just from the cracker box. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this whole thing up, or most of it. For my first one here, I did like a hidden spine. So I'm going to cover up the outside spine last, but I'm going to start by covering up the inside spine portion. And I'm going to be using the same paper pads that I used for that Christmas journal there. And these were garage sale finds. So the first one here is the Christmas and winter stack. And then the other one I have is the naughty or nice paper pad here. So just using a combination of both of these. And I'm going to first grab my scoreboard here. And it really just depends on the size of your journal, but this piece of paper here is what I'm going to use to cover my spine. So mine is about 4.5 inches wide by 10.5 inches tall. And I just want it to be a bit taller than my journal so I can wrap the edges around. So pretty much I'm going to place it here. So you can see I have some excess there at the top as well as at the bottom. So I can just kind of fold the excess over. But first, let me just double check my spine here. It's about 2.5 inches wide. So what I'm going to do first is just score this sheet. So let's see, we'll line it up here at the 4.5 inch side, and then I'll just score at 1, And then 2.5 would be 1, 2.5, so 3.5. Guess you can see better on this side. So that actually worked out perfectly, perfectly even. So I'm just going to take this and fold over the two edges here that I scored. And this is going to go onto the inside spine part. So I'll bring back my journal here, and then I'll just glue this piece on. And again, there's going to be some excess at the top there and at the bottom. So just going to grab my glue here. And I'll just pop some glue all over the spine area. And a little bit over on the side here too. And then I'll just place this right in the middle. Kind of bring up the sides there a little bit. To make sure it's nice and nestled in there in a good position. Gonna get my little spatula piece here and just smooth that out. And kind of just reinforce my paper here at the crease. All right, so you can see my excess coming out at the top and the bottom there. And that's what it's going to look like on the inside. So now I'm basically just going to fold over the excess here, and you could score it on your scoreboard if you want to, but I'm just going to fold it. And then I'll add some more glue. Okay, and kind of just gently bend the spine again. Make sure that's all nice and wrapped around on both ends. So that's the inside. And next I'm going to go to the outside of my journal, and I'm going to cover up the front and the back covers. So I just have the same paper, and for me, Since I'm going to cover up this outside spine last, I'm not going to put any paper over it. So I just cut out a paper here to cover up the front cover separately, and then another one to cover up the back cover. And I'm just leaving the spine alone for now. So this piece as well, I just wanted to have a little extra going over my edges, like so. So there's really no measurement that you need to follow. It just depends on the size of your journal, and you know, you can just cut out a sheet that's a little bit bigger than your cover. So I'm just gonna pop some glue all over the front of this box. And I am going to do another fabric spine, just like my first one. As you can see, this is just some red fabric, and then I put trim over top. So I'm gonna do something similar with this one. So I'll just take one of my sheets here and pop it right onto the front. So you can see I'm not going over my spine at all. Then I'll go back in, smooth everything out. And I'll do the same thing here on the back. And place my other sheet on. I mean, just for reference, if you did want to know what size paper I'm using here, it is about 7.5 wide by 10 inches tall. Again, though, it really doesn't matter as long as you have some extra hanging over your edges. All right. I'd have to add some more glue here and there, but that's what we're gonna have. And then I'm just gonna flip this to the inside now, and I'm gonna do the same thing and just kind of fold over the excess here. But first, I kind of want to cut out my corners just a bit. So I'll just cut out a little shape like that, or you can just cut a triangle straight across. But I'll pretty much just make it so it looks something like that. Okay, so I'll start over here and kind of just fold this piece over. Use my scoring tool or your bone folder to help with that. And then when I get to the corners can be kind of tricky, but I kind of just try to push them in a little bit. And then I can fold over this edge here. Well, actually, let me just fold over this bottom part. And then I'll try to just push in that corner a little bit Sorry if I'm shaking the table. And then this piece can just go right over top. So let me just first glue down these edges, which I could have made these a little bit bigger, like have a little bit more overhang, but that's okay. Let's do this one down below. Then I'm going to glue down this side. And then I'm just going to do the same thing to the back. Okay, so here's the inside, and I'm gonna now cover up these portions. So when it comes to this part, you just wanna see how much room you have pretty much, or how much space you need to cover up. So I could probably do something that's like 6¼ inches wide by maybe 9 inches tall, just so I can cover up everything. So let me just cut out 2 sheets of paper of that size. I actually went with 6 by 9, so I could just use one 12 by 12 paper. So I've got these 2 here, and that should cover everything up nicely. I don't know if this is like too busy, but for the most part, I cover up my inside covers with other things. So I'm just going to use this, and I'll just glue it straight on. All right, so that is all I'm going to do for now in terms of covering up my cover here. And I'm just going to let this all dry. And I think for the next part of this video, I'm going to just pick out some papers for my signatures, and we'll go from there. So I'll just set this whole journal aside to dry. And then with this size journal, choosing the pages for my signatures are pretty easy. I just get 12 by 12 papers. That way I can just fold them in half, and then I'll get my 6-inch across signatures, and then I can just cut this down to whatever height I need to cut it down to. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do for all my signatures. I think I'll just do 4 signatures again, and I'm going to have 5 sheets of paper per signature. So it's also really handy for 8.5 by 11-inch papers. You can simply fold those in half too at the 11-inch side and get a page as well. So since I just want to use up a lot of 12 by 12s, I'm just choosing 5 here, and I'm going to bring my scoreboard / trimmer over, and for some of them I want to create pocket pages. So let's just grab this one first. So I'm just going to fold this in half pretty much. And then I'll take the bottom part here and just fold it up to create a pocket. So sometimes I'll eyeball it, sometimes I will go and score it. So let's just do like 3.5. And we can fold this up. And those are just going to be my pockets. And then again, we'll just fold this in half. So that'll be a page. And so this is going to be 8.5 inches tall, which is perfect because my journal is, what did I say, 9.25 inches tall. So 6 by 8.5 is a good size for me, or I could go even up to 9 inches tall. So I'll get a pocket page over here. I think for these 3 sheets here, I'm just going to cut them down all at once to, let's do like 8 3/4. And then I'll keep the excess paper here to use elsewhere in the journal. And then I can just turn these back to the 12-inch sides and just fold them all in half. And those will be more pages. So we've got that one, this one. And I don't know if I mentioned, but with this journal here, I wanted to include more blues rather than reds and greens, because this could be a Christmas journal, but I also wanted to make it sort of a winter in general journal. So here is one last sheet. Just going to cut off this branding strip. And I think this one I'll also turn into a pocket page. So first I'm just going to score this right down the middle, if I can, at 6. Like that. And then I'll turn it and then just score my pocket again. Let's just do 3.5 again. And we can fold that up. And you could fold it this way, or you could even fold it that way. I don't know which way I want to do it yet, but let's just start by going this way. And that's pretty much how I'm going to do all my signatures. So let's see. Maybe I'll put this one first, and then this one, that one, and then this one. And since all of my papers here are single-sided, with my first Christmas journal, I covered up all of the white space pretty much, which is also why it took me a longer time, because there's lots of white space. So I'm probably going to do that as well with this one. You can cover up any white space before you sew in your signatures, or if you want to sew in your signatures first and then cover up the blank spaces, you can do that. For me, with this journal, it was easier to cover everything up and then sew in my pages. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to cover up the blank spaces off camera, And then in my next video, part 2, I will show you how I sew in my signatures, and we'll finish up the outside spine. But that's pretty much going to be one signature. And like I said, I planned to do 4 signatures total. So these are just my other 3. And I'm going to cover up all of those as well, all of the blank spaces at least. But these were like the leftover scraps that I had from all my papers, and I do utilize these. You can either cut them down or turn them into journaling cards or tags, of course, but you could also just take some of the scraps and you could create like a double pocket here, or even just a pocket on any page. Or you could take some of the bigger scraps you have. I know these don't really go together, but you could just glue part of your scrap onto the page and put one over top. Maybe you have a side pocket, or just glue these down completely and this could be your background. So just different ideas, or you could just leave this blank and kind of ink it up. This would be really good journaling space as well. So that's where I'm going to end the video for today. So don't forget to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss part 2. And I will be showing you all of my signatures, all covered up, of course. We'll sew them in together and then finish up the journal, at least by covering up the outside spine. And hopefully it will all come together beautifully. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Happy crafting and huge hugs!